Join us today as Quentin Willson shares his top winter driving tips and reveals what the new EU tyre labelling legislation means for the great British motorist. Hello and welcome to Consumer Advice. I'm Charlie Broom. As the nights draw in and the great British winter weather starts to take hold, it's time to think about how that affects our driving conditions. Well, joining me today with their top tips on how to prepare for those journeys in the rain and snow, as well as some news that will make buying your car tyres far easier, is motoring journalist Quentin Willson, HiQ's tyre expert Paul Berrington, and from Goodyear, Kate Rock. Welcome, guys. We're live today, so if you have any driving questions for Quentin or Kate or any tyre questions for Paul, please use the box on your screen and we'll do our very best to tackle them over the course of the next 15 minutes or so. And if you're tweeting whilst watching the show, please use the hashtag StudioTalkTV, and we'll try and give you a mention as we go. Now, Quentin, just quickly, top line, new EU legislation coming in tomorrow. What is it and how would it affect motorists?
For the first time, tyres are now going to be labelled by three categories. It's the tyre, the fuel saving ability, the rolling resistance, how much friction this tyre develops, wet braking, and then noise. And they're categorised from A to G, A being good, G obviously not so good. So you've got these three categories, and it's a good first step, and we need the kind of legislation that informs consumers, but I would say we need a lot more. If you look at a motoring magazine, say Auto Express or Which magazine, they will do 15 different category tests on tyres, and a tyre manufacturer like Goodyear, for instance, they will have 50 different tests. So three, it's a bit of a raindrop echoing in an ocean.
OK, but before we hear more about it, let's hear from the great British public and what concerns them when buying their tyres and where they get their advice from.
As tyre labelling launches in the UK, we head out onto the streets of the Midlands to find out what drivers think about when purchasing new tyres.
My first concerns when buying a new tyre really is how good they're going to grip the road, I would say.
My first concern when buying a new tyre is the cost and the price.
For my advice on tyres, I look on the internet really.
For advice on tyres, I work with a lot of male colleagues, so I presume they should know a lot about tyres.
Generally when I choose a new tyre, I tend to ask relatives what their opinions are and what they think, so I tend to go to more sort of personal recommendations.
When I'm looking for a new tyre, I normally just leave it to the local garage for their advice.
Well, when I'm buying a new tyre, I use my experience to get the right tyre especially for the winter. You know, when winter's around, you need appropriate tyres to stop you sliding and slipping all over the place.
If I'm looking for tyres, I normally surf the internet.
When I choose a new tyre, I always go back to the place I bought them from before because I find them reliable.
I'd look to find out what the price is. I compare the different tyres on the market, and again I'd go for the safest again.
So Kate, let me ask you, how will this help motorists choose which tyre is best for them? I know Goodyear, your company, have run a survey and 69% of motorists are mainly concerned about price.
Yes, so at the moment the market is very, very price driven. So the fact is that most people walk into a tyre dealership, it can be a distress purchase because they've just had the MOT done, the tyres have failed. So they're already distressed about what they're about to buy, they don't know what they're buying, and what they're looking at is black and round, and that's it. So at least with this label, it's going to be a starting point for them to see what's good and what's bad. But what motorists must remember is that it's only three parameters, which is what Quentin was saying earlier. I mean, we test up to 50 different parameters of a tyre before we put it into the marketplace. So these three areas on the label, although excellent, really great for the industry, it's going to change the way in which people buy tyres and hopefully stop them from being so price driven, they still need to remember about other safety elements.
Paul, have you seen these labels? What are they going to look like? Do we know?
Well, they look very similar to the energy efficiency labels that we already see on fridges, washing machines and televisions.
Or your shirt.
Or my shirt there.
Okay, so that's what they're going. And so A will be the green, will it? And what's the range in the label?
Yeah, that's correct. We use the green to red, or the EU have picked to use the green to red, and A, green being the best, and G being ultimately the worst.
Right, and who decides and what are the parameters? Who sets those parameters for where the tyres fall within that range?
The EU have already set the parameters between the different gradings, and then the testing by ourselves, which is self-certified, that will set whether the tyre is an A, B, C or an E, F or G.
So Quentin, how obviously conditions play a major part when you're driving. What can people expect from, say, an A grade tyre to a G grade tyre? I mean, I guess it's pretty obvious that A would serve you better, but is it more than that?
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking fuel economy and the rolling resistance, the difference between an A grade tyre and a G grade tyre can be 7.5–8%. So you will make a financial saving by choosing that A grade tyre if you're going for fuel economy and low rolling resistance. I'm not at all convinced about the noise thing. Nobody ever walked into a tyre dealership and said, I want some quiet tyres, please. And the testing is very abstruse anyway. The wet weather grip is very, very important, and I think of all the categories, that is the one that consumers should say, this is really important to me. I need to know how quickly my car will stop if the road is wet. But then we need to understand that what happens when the road is dry, and if you pick a tyre that has a high rating in the wet, it may not be so good in the dry, or good at even pushing water away to stop aquaplaning. So what I'm saying is, yes, I agree, it's a good start, but there's lots and lots of other things that you need to be aware of with choosing a tyre. You
said the first lady on that VT was saying that she chooses her tyres on what grips the road best. Are you saying that, say, a wet weather tyre may not necessarily grip the road best in dry conditions?
Completely. And a winter tyre may not grip the road better in wet conditions or slush conditions. It really does vary. And my advice to people is that this is great, but if you really want the bottom line on whether a tyre is good or not, just put Auto Express or Which magazine into Google, and they do tyre testing, and they will tell you which tyre wins their award every year, and they do test them methodically and thoroughly, and that's really the best way. You can go to the Goodyear.com website, there's lots of information there, but I don't want consumers to see this labelling as the definitive guide to buying tyres, because it's not, and I'm right, aren't I?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, okay, you mentioned, Jessica's fired in a question here. What do you mean by 3, 15, 50? I mean, Paul, Kate, can you take us through that?
Yeah, sure. 3 parameters are checked on the tyre label, so that's rolling resistance, which is fuel economy, wet grip and noise. But then the magazine tests, such as Auto Express or Which, they will look at 15 different parameters, so the 3 that we've mentioned, but also things like straight line aquaplaning, curved aquaplaning, dry grip, road riding, that kind of thing.
How long your tyre lasts. I mean, that's not even on it at all.
There are so many parameters, and then of course us as a tyre manufacturer, we look at all kinds of magic, really, don't we, when it comes to tyre manufacturing, and we look at over 50 different types of conditions that a tyre might have to go through, such as, you know, what it's like when it goes over bumps, right down to the nitty-gritty, really. Okay, Jessica, I hope that helps you on that one. Nikki from Dorking has sent us a question saying, I only use my car to drive to the shops and do small distances, so have never thought about getting any particular tyre. Is this new law saying that I should? And if so, what advice would you give me? Paul?
If you don't need tyres, then no, just because the law's come in doesn't mean to say that you'd have to buy new tyres. But what it does mean is when you next go and purchase some tyres, on that tyre will be a label, and the label will have objective, reliable and comparable data for you to be able to make an informed choice on your next tyre purchase.
But Nikki, don't buy a set of cheap tyres that means you can't go out in the rain or you can't go on motorways. That's what you're saying. I mean, it's really, really important. If you just buy a tyre basically on price, then you'll be restricting what that tyre can do, and also there are all sorts of safety parameters. I don't want to sound like your granddad, but it's important stuff.
And Kate, you said, you know, people go in, they MOT, it's failed because the wear on the tread on the tyre isn't at the sufficient rate, and so you buy something because you've already got a bill of, say, 300 quid, and then you think, oh my God, do I spend another 200 quid on a tyre and double my bill? And I'll take the 45 quid one that passes my MOT. And I've been there, but I guess this label will help, won't it? Because actually, I won't spend the 45 quid, maybe I'll spend 80.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think when people look at the label and they see G rating, they're going to start having a little bit of a panic about that. They'll think about the safety of their family, you know, what they're using their car for. If they're going on motorway journeys, they're going to think, well, actually, do I want to fit something that's G rated onto my vehicle? Really, I want to be looking at C and above.
We were talking before we came on air. It seems strange, doesn't it? I mean, that's the only thing that connects 70 grand or 15 grand's worth of vehicle that weighs quite a lot to the road is your tyre, and you would spend, I mean, you've spent 40 quid, 160 quid.
I know, and nobody gives a stuff about tyres, and that's the problem. And it's amazing. There's so much technology in them. There's so much you know, clever stuff these days that you get what you pay for. And this is basically what is protecting you and your family and your friends and other road users from just apocalyptic disaster. So get it wrong and it can be really, really seriously. So I say to people, and this is the first time you'll ever hear me say spend more money than less, you get what you pay for with tyres. Absolutely.
Okay, so James from Southampton has sent us a question. I never change my tyres for summer and winter. What's the point of it? Okay, where do I leave that one? Throw that one in, off you go.
Can all jump in. Now look, I drove up the town with snow dome in a BMW without winter tyres and a BMW with winter tyres. The one without winter tyres was flopping around at the bottom in the snow like a haddock. The one with the winter tyres right up, managed to stop on the side of the slope, handbrake on, get out the car. Look, isn't it gripping well? They are tremendous, aren't they?
Not just snow grip as well. There was this, Quentin was talking about aquaplaning. A winter tyre will give you a better aquaplaning resistance than a summer tyre, which I think you'll agree our country isn't necessarily the driest in the winter.
Really? Or summer.
Or summer in some cases, yeah.
So it's just cold all into winter.
Which means ultimately you've got more safety just in the wet, not just the snow and ice as well.
It basically means how quick you are going to stop. And if you've got a winter tyre in the winter, you're going to stop an awful lot quicker.
And then again, there's all the different range of winter tyres as well. So it's a never-ending can of worms, I guess. The guess is, as you say, Quentin, you get what you pay for. So, you know, think before you buy. Now, Quentin, just quickly, winter is fast approaching. It's pretty blustery out there today. Top tips for winter driving?
It's really very simple. Don't do anything sudden if it's deep and crisp and even, or if it's icy. Do everything in slow motion in a car. And as you're coming up to that junction, just lift off, anticipate. You know, let the car slow itself down with its own momentum. As soon as you hit those brakes, you may lose grip. And prepare for winter, screen wash, WD-40 in the locks, all that sort of stuff. De-icer in the car. Be careful, but just go steady. And if you've got a rear-wheel drive car with ordinary or perished or budget tyres on it, you're probably not going to go anywhere because you'll just see those wheels spinning round and round. And if they do spin round and round, you've got a manual car, put it into second and just gentle throttle and edge yourself out.
We mentioned snow and ice and that. Leaves, I guess, are also possibly for skidding as well, taking it easy.
But they're kind of easier to get rid of. You just get out and get a broom and sweep them away. But sometimes when it's really deep impacted,
you should have a word with Network Rail.
Yeah, well, it's a good idea. Get them some brooms.
We've got another question here from Chris from London. Chris, I'm with you here. I use my car for generally sitting in traffic in London. What sort of tyre should I be looking for city driving? Apart from bus tyres.
You should get out more and get down there in 40 a bit. I think I would say, look, it's about braking distances. If you're going down the Marylebone Road and it's raining and the bloke in front stops suddenly, if you've got a high quality premium tyre on it, you are going to stop quicker and not go into the back of that taxi. That's the case, isn't it? Doesn't matter whether it's short journeys, urban, rural, stopping distance is everything.
Ultimately, yeah, and maybe in the city your criteria will be slightly different than a motorway driver, but I think you'd agree safety will be one of the most #1 factors for anybody that buys a tyre if you travel with your children or your family in the vehicle.
So it's stopping in the dry, stopping in the wet.
I guess one thing is, I mean, if you've got an insurance premium of 250 quid and your G-rated tyre takes 19 car lengths to stop further, so you'd be into the back of a car, you're forking out 250 quid anyway. So if you forked out 150 quid on your tyres or 200 quid on your tyres, your quid's in anyway, aren't you?
If your car takes 19 car lengths to stop, you're toast. It doesn't matter. You forget all about your insurance premium because you're done. It's over.
Okay, Paul has sent in a question. What are budget tyres? Kate?
Oh, where do we begin? Well, budget tyres are increasingly popular in the UK. We are seeing the market rise there within budget tyres. It's obviously a sign of the economy. I'm hoping that with the introduction of the tyre label that we'll start to see that budget tyres perhaps don't score so highly on the label. Obviously they don't do as much research and development as a premium tyre manufacturer would do, and that's why there is a price difference between a budget and a premium tyre.
Kate's being a little bit politically correct there. Budget tyres come from Asian tyre manufacturers such as China, such as Indonesia, such as Korea, and she said it very politely, but some of them are complete crap. And it's something that really worries me, and I have driven cars with budget tyres on compared to premium cars, and it is scary. And they don't do the research and development, and they're very cheap, and there's lots of them coming in. The Ling Lang Tyre Company, and there's even one called Goodyear. So, you know, it's politically very incorrect to say this, but there is an issue with budget tyres, and they certainly do not perform as well as tyres made in America or in the Eurozone. It's as simple as that. And I could say that, and perhaps you can't, but it does worry me.
Just one thing to point there as well, when we're talking about tyres, averagely, if you look at per tyre, the bit of tyre that's in contact with the road for an average vehicle per tyre is only a hand. So you only have 4 of your handprints in contact with the road at any time. That's at 10 mile an hour or 70 mile an hour.
Yeah, that's quite a sobering thought, isn't it? Yes. So, hi Quentin and all, this is Tim from Essex. I normally buy used tyres. I guess there's something we need to talk about. Will they be labelled? Look at the look on those faces. Will they be labelled as well?
No, they won't be labelled. No.
Again, you probably can't say anything because it.
We need to get the high horse out again.
Yeah, absolutely, and the ladder, because it doesn't sound good from a tyre manufacturer saying don't buy used tyres. Look, used tyres are really bad. I looked at, and I know this because I looked at 20 the other day, all of which were illegal. They were all bought randomly from part used tyre places. And nails in the side, nails in the carcass. One was repaired with a bicycle puncture repair kit. One had run flat damage. One had got the past stamp, because some used tyres have to have a stamp, well, all used tyres have to have a stamp on them, but then they don't. And this one had been passed, but there were great big, you know, bites out the bit that goes around the rim, so it would never have held pressure. And of this pile of 10 tyres, they were all scrap. And trading standards all over the country have repeated this experience. Auto Express have looked at used tyres, and it's something that I think is unregulated and needs to be done. It really is bad. You are really risking life and limb with these tyres. And there's no such thing as Santa Claus or a part-worn tyre, because a part-worn tyre is scrap. Sorry, somebody's thrown it away for good reason.
One question. So from tomorrow, all the tyres need to be labelled. What if I go and buy a tyre in a year's time that's been used? Will it still have that label on?
No.
So that's discarded?
Yes.
OK. Jamie Murphy, should labelling extend to part-worn tyres? Do we think it will happen?
To be honest, it would be an impossibility to test every single tyre at every single tread depth to give a true reflection of the grading. So I think you'll agree to some extent that it would be an impossibility. However, as Goodyear, I know we fully always campaign for the banning of part-worn tyres in the UK.
I agree, they're too dangerous. And now, you know, people stamping them, saying they're passed, and we've seen the evidence of this. That kind of self-regulation doesn't work. Okay.
Final question. There's still a lack of knowledge around driving. It says here the survey also showed that 50% of people don't know the legal limit for tyre tread at 1.6, and 1 in 8 people think that stopping distance decrease in wet weather. What can people do to improve their driving knowledge, especially in the potentially dangerous winter months?
Well, we have lots of driving tips on our website, which people can go to, which is goodyear.co.uk. But other than that, I think generally people need to brush up on their highway code. We've done research in the past about the highway code. People don't know it. So there's lots of things that people can do. Read up on the internet about better driving techniques.
It's really tough, but there's no excuse because the information is out there. It may not be the most exciting, but you can go to the internet and it will tell you the 10 top things not to do in winter. It will tell you the 5 most important things to do with your tyres. And you're a trainer for Goodyear. I mean, it's not difficult to understand this stuff, is it? You don't have to be Wittgenstein.
No. We always try and put it into as easy, understandable language as possible. Our biggest advocacy is check your tyre pressures regularly. Bi-weekly, check your tyre pressures. That can be one of the biggest ways to, one, conserve some fuel, and equally make sure that that tyre is safe in the winter months and equally the summer months as well.
Great stuff. Listen, we've run out of time. My thanks to Quentin, to Paul, to Kate for joining us. If you want to find out more about winter driving as well as the new tyre legislation, go to www.goodyear.co.uk or all the www.highqonline.co.uk/tyres/tyre-labelling-world. OK, they're on the screen there for you to write down. Listen, thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.